Hello, guys, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. It is a very snowy day in Canada again, another winter day, but I am nicely cozied up in my studio, and I really felt called to record this episode today because it may seem like such a basic concept, but it's something that so many people struggle to actually implement and implement consistently. And I find that even on my journey, I can always be reminded of these concepts. It really helps you be like, oh, well, where in my business am I maybe not doing this? Where can I try this week to make this more of a priority? So what we're talking about is messy action and really embracing messy action in your business building journey. And some of you may be thinking, listening to this and thinking, like, oh, well, Robin, aren't you supposed to be like a business coach? Don't you give people a roadmap of what to follow? And I do. I do. But even within that, you can have literally everything laid out. There's still an element of messy action, and that is so important. That is something that is going to build momentum in your business faster than anything else. So, before we dive into this, let's talk a little bit about what messy action even means. And this can look different for everybody listening, but to me, messy action means taking imperfect action. Starting when you don't have a complete plan, starting when you don't feel ready, starting when you feel like an imposter, starting when things feel a little messy, really. And I think this can be something that will show up in all areas of your business. It could be a collection that you're wanting to launch, but you're not quite sure if it's ready yet, or you need a few more designs to add to it, or you're not loving the photos, or you're not loving the names. Those are things that can hold you back for days or weeks or months. When it comes to content's a huge one where people really struggle to take messy action. And what's funny is, like, we'll dive into this a little bit more, but content, when you take messy action with content, you'll often see better results. So there's all these different elements. It comes to, like, even doing wholesale. People feel like, oh, I need to be at a certain level before doing wholesale. Well, yes, you need certain things in place, but there's also, again, an element of taking messy action, taking action before you feel perfectly aligned and ready. And that's okay as well. So to me, this is just a heads up, guys. There's a huge correlation between taking messy action and dealing with perfectionism. And I have a whole episode diving into perfectionism. I'll probably do another one at some point because it's something most people deal with at different levels, obviously. Um, I think a lot of people know perfectionism comes from childhood trauma or a certain level of trauma in your childhood. And it's something that can really hinder your business building journey. And if you learn to utilize it correctly, it can actually be your superpower in business. Now, I'm somebody with perfectionism. I've dealt with perfectionism my whole life. And I would say it's a huge part of why I've got to where I am today. But I have learned to take messy action along with that perfectionism. I've learned to let go of things a little bit, and not all the things, but a lot of little things. And it has made a world of difference. And, perfectionism can be a form of self sabotage, and it can just be the reason that you don't build momentum in your business. Now, we're going to talk about this, but I'll just share my journey with this because I've seen firsthand how this played out when I was building a jewelry business, for example. I didn't want to tell anyone about it till it was ready and the website was up and the collection was done and the photo shoots had been done. I didn't want to tell anyone about it because I was like, oh, I want something legit, like that you can see, and that's sort of tactile, that all this work I've been putting in behind the scenes, you can see it, and you could see it in the form of a website. You could see it in the form of collections of jewelry, of like all this stuff. And I see a lot of business owners do this as well. And they hesitate to talk about it. They hesitate to share about it on social when they're just getting started in their business. And it's one of the worst things you can do because of a couple of reasons. First reason is, when it comes to content, number one, we want to get used to creating content. So even if you're just at the very first stages of thinking, I want to start a jewelry business, start your content on that day. Do not wait 6 months. Do not wait a year. Do not wait 3 months even to start creating content. Start creating content on day one and document your process of building your business for a couple of reasons. Firstly, is it's going to help you find your voice. The first few posts you post, even I would even say the first 100 posts you post, you're going to have an internal wall up, which is going to stop you from showing up in a way that is really going to connect with people. After that point, you're still going to be finding your voice. You're still going to be refining your voice. And so that consistency in doing that is really important. And that requires messy action, because if every post you post, you want it to be perfect, you're never going to post consistently. It's literally going to be something that feels so heavy, something that feels so like, oh, I have to post and I need this to be perfect, because if I don't have it perfect, nobody's going to like me, nobody's going to buy from me. Or what if I say something wrong? Or what if people try to cancel me? And if any of those things are concerns, I mean, it's very valid to feel that way. It's very valid. And I just want to remind you, number one, it's very hard to get canceled. You have to have a lot of people really care about your brand, really love your brand, and really hate your brand to even stand a chance of getting canceled. It's incredibly tough to get your business canceled. So keep that in mind if you're scared of saying the wrong thing. Second thing is that nobody's really listening. Nobody's really cares what you post in your first few weeks of business, especially when you're just getting started in building your community. Nobody even knows what you're doing. So it's really not a massive thing that you need to be concerned about. And you're going to find your voice through creating that content. You're going to find the style, and it is going to require you making mistakes. I've shared posts in the past that I look back and I'm just like, oh, that was off the mark. The tone of that was off. Oh, you know what? I think I unintentionally maybe shamed somebody through that post or the wording. And that's part of the journey. If I took the approach of wanting all my content to be perfect and never to offend anyone and never to maybe hit the mark wrong, I would not be where I am today. You have to be willing to make mistakes. You have to be willing to create content and test kind of the boundaries of like what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And you have to be willing to make mistakes. And that, again, requires messy action. So, if you take one thing from this, I would love for you to start taking messy action in your content. And if you've been taking messy action in your content for a few weeks or months and you're not seeing results, well, that tells me that, yeah, you're showing up, which is great. That's the first step. Second step is getting good at it. Second step is weaving strategy into your content, which is another whole ball game. And that's what I teach my clients in the Jewelry Business Academy, how to create content that feels effortless, feels authentic to you, and has strategy, is very intentional in terms of the psychology of what we want your community to feel and how we want them to connect and how we want them to actually take action and buy from there. So if you're on the struggle bus when it comes to content, you can always come join me in the Jewelry Business Academy. You guys are more than welcome. I'd love to see you there. And if that does feel exciting to you, you can go ahead and book in a free call with one of our elite coaches. Just head to jewelrybusinessacademy.ca to learn a little bit more about that. And I will see you on the other side if content is something that you're wanting to really work on. But let's go back to the messy action, because honestly, there's so much I could talk about this, but I think I've shared a little bit about my experience. And what I did was I didn't talk about my business. I didn't talk about anything until I have the websites and the collections and everything. And what happened was I launched to crickets. Like, there was nothing, dead silence. And all I was thinking when I was getting everything ready was, how am I going to deal with the demand? How am I going to restock when things sell out? How am I going to ship the packages, all this stuff? Well, I didn't need to worry about all of that because I made 0 sales in my first month. And that's because I didn't do any marketing. I didn't do any content because I was unwilling to take messy action. I wanted it all to be perfect. I wanted to show up perfectly. I wasn't confident in my voice. I wasn't feeling worthy of taking up space. I didn't want to make mistakes. And all of that really significantly impacted the first few months of my business building journey. It was a real struggle because I was unwilling to be vulnerable, but I thought I was doing my best. And it's such a good reminder that you don't need to do your best in business. You don't need to do all this manifestation or you don't need to do all that. You just have to do what's required. It's pretty straightforward when you break it down. And I was not doing that because perfection was holding me back from showing up. It was holding me back from showing up imperfectly. It was holding me back from, being vulnerable in the way I was sharing. And so I don't want that to be the case for you. And it can really be a massive barrier. That perfectionism can be a massive barrier to you being vulnerable and taking action, because if you are wanting to show up perfectly, it's because you're also wanting people to accept you in the way that you're showing up, and you want their approval and you want them to buy from you. And I think recognizing that people don't need you to be perfect, people don't need you to have everything together, people don't need you to show up in a certain way in order to connect with you, in order to like you, in order to buy from you, in order to trust you. That's a massive shift. And, I don't want this to turn into a perfectionism podcast. So we're going to shift back over to the messy action in a second. But it really is something that you want to remind yourself of daily if it's something you struggle with. I have clients who show up on their business pages, on Instagram and stuff, no makeup, casual, messy buns, and they drive sales because they show up authentically. And these are people selling mid-priced pieces around $200 or $300. These are also people selling $2,000 to $20,000 pieces. So it's across the board. People want to connect with real people. And so if you show up as you are, you can show up no makeup, messy hair, in track pants with your kids around you, however feels most authentic to you. And know that, hey, if you're somebody like me who just feels more confident when you have makeup on, do that so that you feel a bit more confident in showing up, but don't let that hold you back from actually showing up consistently. And what can happen when you are in this kind of perfectionism sort of situation, uh, you can get into this cycle of indecision and inaction and overthinking every little thing in your business. And it really makes it hard to start taking action. It really makes it hard to make decisions. It really makes it hard because you want to make the right decision. You want to take the right actions. And I think recognizing that, hey, I trust myself to, number one, try and make the best decision from the information I have. And then number two, know that no matter what decision I make, I'm going to make the best of it. And even if I make a mistake, well, what a wonderful way to learn that, hey, moving forward, if I get this situation again, I'll do something different in this situation. And it's such a wonderful opportunity for growth. So for anyone who's sort of struggles, and I struggled with this for many, many years, I still have moments where I struggle with it, but I've got really good at making decisions quickly. And I actually started by, when I went to restaurants, getting myself to order quickly, because that used to be so overwhelming to choose what to eat. And I know it sounds so ridiculous, but it was so overwhelming for me to be like, oh, what do I want to eat? Because I don't want to get something that I regret. And if I want to see what everyone else is getting, and I don't want to see what they get, and I regret that my choice and all this stuff. It was so stressful for me. And I just started there. And then I started in my day-to-day life making decisions quicker. And then you recognize hey, it's much better to make the wrong decision on one day than the right decision 3 months later. the speed is actually more valuable, because in that time you can get information. Maybe based on you making one wrong decision today, you then recognize tomorrow, like, oh, actually, I'm going to go in a completely different direction here, knowing this. And you're able to build momentum faster. And that requires taking messy action, not having all the stars aligned every time something needs to happen in your business or in your life. And it's going to build your confidence. It's going to build your self-worth, because you recognize, like, hey, I'm resilient. Hey, I have the ability to make the best of every situation. Hey, I can trust myself to make decisions. I can trust myself to make mistakes and still end up in a positive situation on the other side. And so I really want to encourage you to start doing that. And I've seen this with clients in the Jewelry Business Academy that I work with, where, they struggle taking messy action. They struggle because there's that sense of like, okay, but what are my community going to think? And what are my friends going to think? And what are the store owners that I sell to going to think if I post this way, or if I show up in this way where I'm not too professional? Like, what are they going to think? Is this going to negatively impact my business? And it's very legitimate, because, hey, your business is your livelihood. You don't want to do things intentionally that is going to harm sales. You'd never want to do that. And at the same time, recognizing that it's actually hard to do one thing that is going to make people never buy from you is also going to help that. So allow yourself to make mistakes in business, allow yourself to take messy action, allow yourself to be human. You can show up in a messy way, because let me tell you, your community's lives are messy too. And when they see the things that you're dealing with on a daily basis, they're going to resonate with that. They're going to feel seen with that. They're going to be like, oh, this girl gets it. This girl gets what I'm going through, even if it's unrelated to the jewelry. But it builds that trust, builds a trust connection factor. And you can bet when they're looking for a piece of jewelry, they're going to come to you. And so, the other thing that comes up when we talk about messy action is that fear of failure, which, hey, we all deal with that. I have dealt with that before, like pretty severely at stages as well. And that fear of making the wrong decision really contributes to that cycle of indecision and inaction. It makes it hard to show up, because how humiliating, how embarrassing if we should ever fail at anything. I don't know why we put all this pressure on ourselves that failure is the worst possible thing, because to me, failure is not the worst possible thing. Not even trying is. Never even going all in and trying something that would be fulfilling to you is way worse than failure. And so just really reframe failure as opportunities for growth. Like, you can't fail in business. You can pivot, you can tweak, you can change things, especially a jewelry business. The only way you can fail in your jewelry business is if you decide to stop trying. That's literally the only way. It's not like a restaurant where you have massive overhead and massive teams. You can have a really streamlined jewelry business. So if you're not doing well sales wise, you can simplify, you can cut expenses, you can run your business on really minimal expenses on a monthly basis, and you can build it up so that you're driving those sales. You can't fail at a jewelry business unless you completely invest all your inventory into stock. I've seen people invest 50, 60,000 into inventory, have it sitting in their lounge, and then they never learned how to sell. So that's when you can fail, because at that point you've hit burnout, you've lost confidence in yourself, you've lost self-worth. It feels impossible to take action because you just overwhelmed, and then you kind of make that decision just to call it quits. But for most people, you actually can't fail at a jewelry business. You just decide to stop showing up for your business. And so just remember that you really can't fail. And I think if that gives you a bit more confidence to take a bit more messy action, then I would love for you to do that. And really embrace messy action. I would even say to yourself, like, write it on a little sticky note. What can I do today? Like, okay, here's my list of tasks. And where can I just embrace a little bit of messy action? Like, what task feels like a mountain in my mind today? Maybe it's reaching out to stores. Maybe it's finalizing your wholesale catalog. Maybe it's creating a piece of content. Maybe it's sending an email. Maybe it's reaching out to an event organizer. And maybe there's something, or launching a new piece. There's something on your to-do list. Think of it right now, what that thing is that today or tomorrow or this week, you're just like, oh, this feels like a mountain. This feels massive. This feels heavy. Let's weave a little bit of messy action in there. Let's just take messy action. Let's get it done. Getting it done is better than waiting for it to be in, like, having all those stars aligned and getting it done perfectly. And, again, I know this perfectionism thing is coming up a bit, but I will say, like, what I've really learned to do is to take messy action and then refine. So you can take that messy action, then you can go back and refine. So you still want your quality to be in your product to be an incredibly high quality. You still want your your customers to have an incredibly good experience with your brand. And you can do that by embracing messy action and then refining as you go and making adjustments when needed and pivoting when needed. And really embracing messy action on a daily basis is going to break that cycle of fear. It's going to break that cycle of insecurity and that cycle of uncertainty. And it's going to really help you in showing up. And it is so important for you as a business owner to learn to make decisions quickly and take action even quicker. It is game changing. When I look at my journey, it's been literally so powerful in helping me build momentum because I have learned to get good at making decisions so fast because I have to make so many decisions on a daily basis. I mean, I have our whole team, I have all my clients, I have so much going on. If I sat on every decision for even hours, like, there's no way I could get things done. I have to make decisions so quickly, and I have to know sometimes I make the wrong decision, and that's okay. I'll either make the best out of that, or it won't even matter in the big picture of things, or we'll go back and do the other option. So much in business is reversible. So much in business is really not the end of the world. And learning to just take action and build momentum faster and let things be a little messy. Let your website not be 100% perfect, but make sure that ultimate customer journey through the site is solid so that you can drive sales. Let your product launches not be perfect, but show up consistently so that your pieces are visible, so people know about them, so people feel excited about them, so people are ready to buy them. It makes the world of difference. So I really want to encourage you to embrace taking messy action, really build momentum in your business. And there's such a strong relationship between taking action, building momentum, driving sales. And I see this consistently with business owners who are successful. They don't have more willpower than other business owners. They don't have some secret sauce often. What it is that they are consistently showing up, taking messy action, and doing what's required. And if you're listening to this and you're not too certain about what's actually required, maybe you think you're doing all the things, I can tell you, if you're doing all the things, you're probably doing too much. There are certain tasks you need to do in your business to really drive revenue, to really move the needle in business. And if you're not confident in what you're doing, you are welcome to come join us in the Jewelry Business Academy. It is literally the most expansive container for jewelry business owners wanting to grow and scale their jewelry business to 6 figures and beyond without burning out. And I have spent years and years developing the 90-day jewelry business blueprint. Now, this blueprint is one of a kind, and it literally walks you step by step through from building solid foundations in your jewelry business and then scaling effectively. And we're diving into everything from, looking at your niche, your offer, your collections, your pricing. We're diving into wholesale, marketing strategies, email marketing, looking at your sales tools and your website, events marketing, all these different components, and then we are optimizing those, and you will see results in those first 90 days. That is the power of taking strategic and intentional action consistently and actually doing what is needed to be done effectively. So our whole program's literally built around the implementation and supporting the implementation, because that's the only way you're going to see results in your business. There is, I think I've spoken about this before, but there is an abundance of jewelry business owners who are overeducated and underachieving. And I say this with a lot of love, but there are people who've listened to all the podcasts, who have done all the free courses, or even maybe a lot of paid courses, who knows? And they have just done all the research. The issue is not the research. The issue is not the information. The issue is the implementation. And that's what our program has been specifically developed to help you. And you're going to get my eyes on your business every single week. We're going to hop on group calls together every single week. You're going to be in a community of jewelry business owners, all doing the same thing as you, all building and scaling their jewelry business. And you are going to literally change the trajectory of your business and change the trajectory of your life. So if that feels exciting, go ahead and book in your free call with one of our elite coaches. You literally have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So go ahead and do that now. If there's even a small part of you that is curious, that is like, you know what, I wonder if maybe I could do this. Maybe this is time. Go ahead and book in your call, and I'll see you on the other side. This has been such a fun episode, guys. I actually had more to share about this, but I'm going to save that for another episode because I don't want this to be super long. I want this to be a short and powerful episode so you can actually go and take action. And if you only take one thing from this today, think of one task you can do today or tomorrow in your business that you need to take a bit of messy action around. And I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear if this has helped you in taking action. And I'd love to hear what that one messy action is that you are committed to taking. So send me a DM. It's on Instagram. It's Robin Clark Coaching. Looking forward to connecting with you there, and I'll see you soon.